Our next speaker is Whitney Dailey. Whitney is Vice President, Marketing and Research Insights at an organization called Cone Communications, a really fascinating organization. And the session is entitled Activating and Engaging Your Customers Through Purpose. So please join me in welcoming Whitney Dailey.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Really excited to share some hot off the presses research with you, as you can see here on the screen. Before we get into that, for those of you that might be unfamiliar with Porter Novelli Cone, we are a global purpose communications consultancy, and we help our clients find, live, and tell their purpose. So for about 25 years, we have been doing primary research, really digging into consumer expectations of responsible companies and what they're willing to do to act to support those companies. So that was the impetus for our research, but before we really dive into that, I want to take a step back and share a little bit about how we came up with this topic. And I'd love everyone in the room, if you could, to think about a piece of content, maybe an advertisement, that really stuck with you emotionally. Something that really resonated with you, maybe made you laugh, cry, think about an issue from a different perspective. So perhaps for you, that's Budweiser's Super Bowl commercial, I think from about 2 years ago, where the factory line worker woke up in the middle of the night from a phone call, goes down to the production facility to change over all of their production lines from beer to water for disaster relief efforts. Or perhaps it's Dawn's commercial showing the cleaning power of Dawn on wildlife animals after an oil spill. For me, it's this video. This is a Unilever video from 2014 at the launch of their sustainable living plan. Does anybody recognize this, by the way? Of show of hands, if anybody has seen this. See one person? Great. This is my video that sticks with me to this day. So the concept of this video is Unilever brings expecting parents into a room to think about one question. Why bring a child into this world? And they start out showing images of disaster, famine, bombs exploding. Why bring a child into this world? And then it quickly shifts, and the video shows the amazing moment that it is to bring a child into this world, and the hope and the dreams and the future that's associated with that. Unilever closes by saying, there has never been a better time to create a brighter future for everyone on this planet. And at the end, you see the immense emotion on the faces of these parents as they're coming to that same realization. I've probably watched the video about 25 times. I watched it again this morning, and it still brings tears to my eyes. So that is powerful purpose content. And that is what we wanted to explore in our newest research. We wanted to understand not only how will consumers act to support responsible brands, but perhaps more importantly, how will they feel? So to do that, we really took a different approach to our research this year, a different approach to our methodology. We implemented something called biometrics testing. So as you can see here, we hooked up our biometrics respondents to a series of different sensors to gauge their emotion, attention, and arousal. So we did this by capturing positive and negative emotion through facial expressions. We captured their heart rate. And then we also captured something called skin conductance. And this is the physiological phenomenon that happens when your body is exposed to stimuli that either internally or externally you find arousing. So this can be laughter, crying, happiness. These are the actual electrical current that your body produces when you are stimulated. And we captured that through this biometrics testing. And we did that through a series of advertisements. We had our purpose respondents look at two sets of ads from the same brand, one that is purpose-driven and one that was really product-driven, so focusing on the product attributes and the function of that product. We did this through 3 different brands, different industries: automotive, household cleaning, and technology. But beyond just capturing the physical and emotional elements that these respondents reacted to, we also gathered information about what they would be willing to do to act in support of these brands after watching this content. And lastly, we overlaid all of this data with an online study of 1,000 Americans to see if our sample of biometrics respondents was really laddering up to what we were seeing overall in the marketplace here in the US. So let's just dive into the findings. I only have 20 minutes with you today, so I'm going to share 4 top-level findings from the research. First thing, what we found is that purpose was most effective in 2 out of 3 instances. We saw higher levels of attention, emotion, and arousal. But we also learned that there's a lot of reasons that an advertisement is effective, right? It's pretty straightforward. Perhaps, the music stops at just the right time and your eye tracking is brought back to center. Perhaps the ad is just hilarious. Or maybe your favorite celebrity's in that ad and all of a sudden your heart is like beating really quickly. So we had to unpack this a little bit further to really understand the purpose versus function narrative. So we did this by honing in on the moment during the advertisement where the purpose narrative was delivered to our respondents, or the functional narrative was delivered to our respondents. What we found is when we really peeled back the onion to that layer, purpose outperformed in all 3 sets. We saw increased attention, arousal, and in some cases, positive emotion. This is an aggregated chart of the data that we received back. So I'm going to unpack a little bit further the concept of emotion. Because as you can see here on the chart, we have positive and negative emotion intertwined. And that is because you can be feeling positive and negative at the same time, right? And especially in our work, when we're talking about issues, a company may be tackling an issue that makes you sad. It might make you angry. It's an issue if it's inequality, women's rights. Those issues might make you emotionally upset. However, if a brand is doing something to tackle those issues, to solve for those issues, they have a positive emotion towards your brand. So again, that's why we can see positive and negative emotion happening intertwined. This is in juxtaposition from what we saw from the product advertisement. We see attention starting to waver, arousal is dipping, and in this case of this specific ad set, negative emotion became so high that it actually borderlined on the emotion of annoyance. So they were just, quite frankly, annoyed by the ad. So that's a little bit about the biometrics, but what I'd love to share is what that deep emotional bond will then mean in terms of action. So this is a little of our US data, our aggregate US data. And what we're seeing, and I think this is a common thread throughout the conference today, is that consumers are no longer looking just at price and quality. They're looking at the values of an organization and if it aligns with their own values. 79% of Americans said they feel a deeper personal connection to companies with values that align with their own. 72% say, these purpose-driven companies care about me and my family more. So deep bonds, values, caring, those are not terms that we typically associate with that relationship between a company and a consumer, right? Now we're forming a different relationship. We're going beyond just a transactional relationship and really forming a deep emotional bond based on values. And we learned a lot about trust this morning, right? Here are a couple more trust data points to put in your back pocket. We found in our research 89% of Americans said that they would have a more positive image of a company that leads with purpose. 86% say they're more likely to trust that company. And 83% said that they would be more loyal. So what does loyalty look like? We'll unpack that a little bit more. This was confirmed through our biometrics. When we asked them, okay, after viewing these ads, which one made you feel better about the brand, the product or the purpose ad? Overwhelmingly, as you can see here on the screen, purpose took the lead in all 3 product attributes. Consumers also felt those ads were more unique across the board. However, when it came to inspiring more trust, yes, we saw purpose lead in 2 categories, household cleaning and tech. But when it came to inspiring trust in the automotive category, we found that the functional narrative really did perform better. I don't know about you, but if I am buying a car, you better believe I'm going to be concerned about the safety of that car, about the performance of that car. Is it going to protect my family? So yes, the functional ad in that case for me would inspire more trust. But when we look again at which advertisement really brought through that stronger emotional connection, we see purpose skyrocket across the board in all of our product categories. So what does that mean? You created these deep bonds. Now, how does that inspire your consumers to do more or do differently? We found in our US research, nearly 8 in 10 Americans said that they would be proud to be associated with your brand. So when they buy their Tom shoes and it has the blue and white logo on the back, they're proud about that. They're proud to have that Patagonia logo on their jacket because it shares their values with the world. And not only are they proud, they're also going to go out and tell others, hey, you should also buy this product. We found 3/4 of Americans would do that. They're not only telling others to buy your products, they're also going on social media and talking about you. 62% of Americans said that they would share information on their social networks about a purpose-driven company. But more than just being your brand amplifiers, they're also being your brand protectors. And this was brought up in the panel around trust and transparency. Organizations that lead with purpose are able to future-proof their brands. 75% of Americans said that they'd be more likely to forgive a company if that company makes a misstep if they do lead with purpose. And in fact, 72% said that they would actually defend that company if someone spoke badly of it. So here you're creating your brand loyalists that are not only going out there and amplifying, but also protecting from negative conversations. This is a little bit of an eye chart here, but this was confirmed through our biometrics research as well when we asked our respondents, based on the advertisements you saw, which would be more likely to talk to your friends and family about that ad, talk to your friends and family about that brand. Purpose led in all 4 of our categories. They're going on social, they're sharing that advertisement, but then they're also sharing information about your brand. So it's not just about the advertisement, but that level further where they're talking about you as an organization. So the last group of key findings I'll share with you today is around action. So purpose, we found through our US research, is really creating audiences primed to take action. So 86% of Americans said that they would purchase a product from a purpose-driven company, okay. 81% said that they would welcome that company into their community. So this is about license to operate. Are you welcome in this community? And how do you build that community loyalty? But Americans are also looking to this as a lens to determine where they work and where they invest. And this is something we're seeing more and more of today. 70% want to work for a company that's purpose-driven. And when it comes to investments, 64% say they're using that as a lens to determine where they're putting their money in the marketplace. Now, I want to pause and talk a little bit about the one area we really saw divergence in the research from our general population and our biometrics respondents, and this was around purchase. So we found that when it came to which product would you actually buy based on the advertisements that you saw, purpose only led in one category, which was tech. In the other categories, household cleaning and automotive, the product narrative was more likely to lead a consumer to purchase. So we got these findings back and we're like, we really wanted to get that purchase number in there. But at the same time, I think this actually validates the research, and this is what I'm here today to say. Purpose is not a panacea. It should not be your only brand promise. You still need to have a quality product, at a good price point in order to attract consumers. And when price and quality are equal, purpose is an amazing differentiator that builds deeper bonds that transcend traditional consumer relationships. These are your loyalists, your advocates, and they're in it for the long run to be part of your brand and with your brand. So we as an organization learned a lot from producing this research, and you can see some of the key findings here on the screen. But the one I really want to drill down on, actually two, I'll drill down on with you right now. And that is to use your purpose as a lens to determine which issues to stand for and why. So in the trust panel that we heard earlier, we heard about brands taking stands on different issues. What do you stand for? When do you stand for it? How do you stand for it? If you have a strong purpose and you're able to articulate that to the marketplace, it becomes crystal clear which issues are in alignment with your purpose and which issues are not. And that is really your guide pole to engaging on different issues in the marketplace. The second thing I will share is all the way at the bottom of the screen here, and that is around purpose washing, right? I've talked a lot today about advertisements, and I've talked about communications. What I haven't talked about is you can have a great advertisement, but if you don't back it up with the programs, the policies, the executive buy-in, the CSR report, consumers will know. In fact, we've asked in the past research, would you do research, if a brand took a stand, would you do research to see if they're being authentic? We found 64% of Americans said that they would do that. And then when you look at the millennial generation, that actually spiked to around 75%. So this is critical. I've shared a lot about communications and advertising, but it is about creating that strong baseline, creating that purpose, and the programs and policies that really ladder up to it to have the strongest ROI on leading with purpose. So with that, we have just a few minutes. We're gonna get a mic going around here and I can answer questions if anybody has some about the research or campaigns in general. I think we have one all the way on the other side.
So this is fabulous. The question I have is the three examples that you showcased were all consumer products. Mm-hmm. Has your firm done any more deeper research on services, and have you seen a difference on purpose with a services firm versus consumer product?
That's a great question. In our 2018 research, which was an online study, we actually did itemize out about 10 different industries, and we asked Americans, do you feel, XYZ industry should be leading with purpose? What we found is among all industries, including more service-oriented industries like financial services and healthcare, consumers felt that unanimously, basically every industry should lead. 64% and above said that. At the very, very top, in terms of industries, we saw food and beverage, around 87%, healthcare, and technology. So I think, we did focus on consumer products in this, but the same applies if you're a service-oriented company. And we've definitely seen that in the marketplace and how consumers are reacting to those service messages as well. The back there.
So a follow-up with a different angle maybe. So for the B2B companies in the room maybe, so how can we take the consumers and actually it's employees? So if you have any insights on it.
Yeah, and that's a great question. We conducted research in 2016 all around employee engagement and what employees were looking for. And in this research, we had a little bit of a data point around using purpose as a lens to determine where they work. We actually found in our 2016 report that some Americans will not even take a job from a company if they're not purpose-led. That's especially high among the millennial demographic. I think there's no surprise there. But more than that, they're looking to work with purpose-driven companies, but it also goes a level deeper than that. Once they're in that company, they want to be engaged on the purpose or CSR or sustainability efforts. They want to co-create those solutions, and they want to do this in different ways. It's not just about check writing, it's not dollars for doers, it's not the day of service. It really needs to be a multifaceted employee engagement program to really connect with employees on the ground. Another demographic, actually, which was really interesting that popped out as being particularly high in this area was Gen X. So your younger Gen X employees are primed to be engaging on this. They really want that. And they're basically your current leaders or future leaders of your organization, with millennials right on their heels. But we see it as a very, very strong indicator of recruitment and retention. We've had clients come to us for that very reason and say we need to be leading with purpose because we're not resonating with our employee base. It's like we have a couple here in the front. And about one minute left, so I think I can only take one more.
So of course, a Super Bowl ad would always be fantastic. But, and I think
Yes.
maybe this is more geared towards B2B, but even with consumer type goods, how do you create a message that is consistent and you can perpetuate it at different levels outside of just pure media advertisement and social media?
Yeah, that's a fabulous question. And I think what it really has to come down to is what I was talking about with having that strong purpose, understanding who you are as an organization, and then creating that surround sound communications plan around that. A Super Bowl ad is not going to solve all your problems. So I don't want anyone leaving the room thinking that. But it is about arming your employees with the right information. When you go, if you have brick and mortar, you go into that store, do you feel the purpose of that organization? If not, you might need to work a little harder there. Brick and mortar, employee base, then of course, looking on social, you should be talking about these issues on your social channels. Having a CSR report so that you can share more information. Engaging with different stakeholders, whether that's nonprofits or your buyers, your suppliers, the community that you work in. It really needs to be a surround sound effort. We actually had a data point in our 2017 research that shows if you just communicate purpose in one avenue, maybe it's on product package or it's just on your website, consumers won't think that it's authentic. So it really needs to be a surround sound approach when it comes to communications. Thank you. I think that's all the time that we have for today. I'll be here in the afternoon, happy to answer any questions. I have a couple reports, and you can also download it on our website. Thanks so much.